27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And there isn't one of us that doesn't want to be someplace else. This is what we do. Who we are.
Survive a war. You gotta become war.
Boom. And welcome to Rambo and Frens. I am your host, Joe Rambo. Look, I don't honestly even know how to intro today's show. I'm going to do so while you guys all pile in here. But here, like I said on the show many times before, I'll just keep it as transparent as possible. I have made a promise to be honest, and so that's what I'm going to do. I came home from the Reawaken tour this weekend, and I couldn't tell you how grateful I am that I was invited to be a part of the Badlands election night coverage, just to do a short cameo, but it meant the absolute world to me, so much so that I was really excited, and I told my girl. And when that happened, I realized I also told John Herold, aka Patel Patriot, that we would have him on, as I was just on Liberty Den and we've been hanging out with the Eye of the Storm guys. And so I wasn't thinking, to be honest with you, and I invited John to come on Thursday. And as soon as he said yes, I realized, oh crap, that's the day I have Abs and StormyPatriotJoe on. So instead of canceling somebody, I decided it's been like a very long time since I saw those guys all together, as I'm a big fan of Badlands. Why not just see if they want to do something together? And of course, everybody was on board, which is really cool, because I didn't have to be a dick and cancel somebody. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about what's going on today. Probably more nervous than I've been in a while. General Quast made me nervous. I got to be honest. There's been a few, but this is one of them. These guys are, all three of them, in different ways, have become friends, acquaintances, partners in this movement, and I'm completely excited to be able to hang out with them. So while I have all you guys' attention, I'm gonna throw one of these people that are supporting the show in here early on, as I've been waiting to the very end to thank sponsors, and I don't think that's exactly the right thing to do. So we're gonna give Patrick Gunnels a quick hat tip right now and say thank you for supporting the show. I hope you guys all go and support him as well. Let's hear from Patrick, and then we'll get to the show.
At Tulip Blooms, we believe in more than just skincare. We believe in freedom. We believe in natural products made by Americans, for Americans, using nature's finest ingredients to help you feel your best. Each Tulip Blooms product is carefully crafted with pure organic ingredients. No chemicals, no compromises, just clean, natural skincare you can trust. We know what matters to you: freedom, family, and a healthy way of life. That's why every purchase at tulipblooms.shop supports American jobs and a brand that values your freedom. Join the movement. Support a company that believes what you believe in. Visit tulipblooms.shop today. Tulip Blooms, natural skincare for patriots. Promo code Rambo for 10% off.
Somebody just called Patrick the Lotion Whisperer. I thought that was really funny. Yeah, Patrick Gunnels is a Badlander, and he came over here to support us. So also know, look, I don't do this for money. Patrick is a Badlander. I'm pretty sure you can also use promo code Badlands. So these guys, all three of which are coming on today, are Badlanders themselves. So if I could ask one more thing before I bring on the guests for today, you guys have put us on the leaderboard up with all those amazing Badlands shows, Donald Trump on RSBN, all of the other amazing shows you see on the leaderboard. And that is because you guys are so active. I realize that it's like pouring for thumbs, but like, I just want you to know that the reason we're up there is because you guys are so active. So hit that positive affirmation button on whatever platform you're on, whether it be YouTube, Rumble, Pill.net, or my X account. We appreciate it. It gets more eyes on the conversation. So with that being said, let's hear from the boss and bring these guys on.
I wouldn't miss a chance to talk to my friends. These are my friends.
All right. What is going on, gentlemen? Look, let me just start in one place so we don't all step on each other. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having us.
Dude, it was really cool to hang out with you and your wife this weekend.
Agreed. It was super awesome finally getting to meet you and chill out, man.
Yeah. Thank you for understanding that I invited John on. I hope that this is as exciting for all of you guys as it is for me.
I don't know how we're gonna deal with it, man. I can't believe you invited that guy on the day you always have us on. Jeez, what's wrong with you?
StormyPatriotJoe, what's up, buddy?
Doing well. It's like a little golf foursome here. Maybe I'll put up some pictures of John in his cutoff flag shirt golfing. Maybe I'll do that.
Oh, God. I'm gonna get rid of this. All right, there it is. John, how you doing, bro? It's been a long time since we got to talk on screen. Well, we did Liberty Den, but I mean, before that on this platform, it's been a long time. So it's good to see you, dude.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's been a while since I've done like the Q mashup. I mean, you were the last time I did that, but then before that, even with the Eye of the Storm boys, it's been a while. So I'm excited about this stuff.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. I think it's been about a year since you've been on Eye of the Storm, man. We're gonna have to fix that soon. Maybe after Gart, we'll have to fix that.
Just waiting for my invite.
I have my people call your people, man. We'll set it
up. That's actually really funny,
right?
I gotta say, I'm really excited. First of all, for John, thank you very, very much for the invite. I know we still got to work out details and see if it even works out, but it was really nice. I saw the post you put on X, and a lot of people said my name, so I want to say thank you to those guys as well. I would be honored. I hope that we can figure it out because I look up to your whole channel and everything you do. So I hope that we can do that on election night. And I want to say, Gart, can I ask you a question, dude?
Yeah.
Did you schedule Gart right after what's going to be on purpose?
Hell yeah, man. Well, I mean, we try to do 4 a year, you know, so it kind of fit that time frame, but we wanted to do it right after the election or a week or so about when we figured hopefully the ballots will be counted. So that no matter what happens, we think our audience at Badlands is like the most prepared for any of the situations, whether Trump wins or it's a steal or whatever. Like they're going to be, everything's good. We're good no matter what, because in the end we think we're going to get this resolved. But yeah, our election day coverage is going to be fun. We have a good list of names coming in. Most of our Badlands hosts, General Flynn is going to be on at some point. Eddie Bravo, a whole bunch of election people. Still waiting on a few others invites that I sent out there to come on. The Rumble CEO will be on there, Chris Pavlovsky. I'm hoping Patrick Byrne. He hasn't responded, but yeah, we got a pretty good list of names, so it should be a good time.
Is this one of those, you know how like when you get a hotel, they give you the option like no refund or refund? Did you make sure you clicked the refund button on this?
For Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually a Miss Bright question. I have no idea. We'll see. But people were saying that, like, I think I saw something today. Somebody tagged me. It's like, or maybe it was Joe Lang, I think, who did a post about the 10 days of darkness right after the election. And then they're like, well, if this happens, wouldn't this interfere with Gart? Like, what are we going to do? It's like, that's a good point. I have no idea. But yeah, we'll see.
If it was up to me, we're doing it anyway.
Exactly.
No matter what happens, right? We get up and we fight the next day, right?
It's just a matter of getting there. I'm a ways away for a drive,
Yeah,
but I'll do it if I have to. Just might be late.
No, I'll drive. I'll drive to the middle upper part of the country, pick you up, and then we'll ride together.
There you go.
You'll love Kim.
Aren't you in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, yeah, but I would do it for you.
Oh, you're gonna have to like go all the way west, and then I don't know, man. I can make it there. We'll be good.
Well, I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. Did you guys see the? I don't even have it pulled up, but did you see the clip the dude's talking about today? Is everybody not watching the internet to try to figure out what the hell's going to happen with Kamala today? Like literally one post can set the whole movement on fire.
Are you talking about the Santos clip?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just so shilly. I don't know what to believe,
Yeah.
but
He came out today and said he's not posting anything.
of course.
That's really funny.
Of course. There you go. There it is. There's Kamala's October surprise. Santos not posting a damn thing.
But
Well-
I have heard there's supposedly stories being shopped around on Kamala. So,
I've seen it from various people on Twitter, but nobody it's super reputable yet. But I've also seen it kind of float up enough to where it feels like it might have some legs. I don't know.
let me see if I can find it. There's a guy who I have no idea who this guy is. I'll see if I can find a clip of somebody talking about that. Shopping the stories around.
While you're looking, Joe, let me ask you: is Kamala real?
What do you mean by real?
By real, I mean, is it legit? Are we actually watching two people go head to head for the election? Like, this is an opinion thing, right? It's speculative. What I'm asking you. What is your opinion? I know that you're probably the one guy I respect the most when it comes to dissecting Q and the news cycle, and future proves past, news unlocks the map type of dude. So, in your opinion, is what we're watching with the Joe Biden switch over to Kamala Harris going into this election? I realize none of us know what's going to happen, but I'm asking your opinion: is what we're watching real, or is this kayfabe?
All right. So going back to 2019, as soon as Joe Biden won the Democrat nominee, I said, that's not really Joe Biden. That's an actor. That's following our orders. Okay. And every single day, the White Hats give us proof of exactly that. So if you take that stance, it would only make sense that his VP is part of the show too. And when Biden stepped down and decided not to run, that hit all kinds of comms as well. So my opinion is Kamala's fully part of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And then I know kind of Abs might be like 1 or 2 degrees separated. And I know John might be 1 or 2 degrees separated in the other direction. Paul, do you have an opinion before I ask John?
I definitely think we're watching a show, man. The thing I get hung up with is it actually us telling them what to do, or is it us having put them in such a situation that their outcome's already predetermined? But that's kind of a menial talking point when it comes to them being game to do something against their will, because either which way they're being game to do something against their will. So ultimately, I agree with Joe. Whatever we're witnessing, they're being controlled and or pushed into that situation to do what they're doing. Man, there's no way out for them, in my opinion.
My man. John, same thing, dude.
Yeah, in terms of I'm not gonna lie, I kind of missed the question because I was looking for that clip, which I
That's
did find
okay.
in the chat.
It's really kind of a just an opinion piece. Is what we're watching with this Kamala Harris, nobody actually voted for her. She was appointed. She was put in a coup fashion. Is what we're watching legit? Like, I know we all need to go vote. I'm in no way ever going to tell anybody not to stand up and fight, stand up and be motivated, find something you believe in, go vote. But are we what we're watching? Do you think that it's real?
It's this comes down to that, like the debate over how much control the White Hats have. I think there's definitely some control here, whether it's direct control. I more so lean towards like influence and like the Judas goat situation, where there's Judas goats in the administration. Last night we were talking about this a little bit, where how perfect is it that Kamala Harris was the border czar and now she's like running and campaigning on this stuff, like, but Joe Biden named her border czar. And I think it was Bernie Brad who said that, made that comment. And then so like my rebuttal is, okay, well, I don't think Joe Biden was the one who actually did that, because Joe Biden, I don't think does any, like, he's lost it. I don't think he has any idea what's going on. He wasn't the one that's like, let's name her border czar. It's whoever was behind the scenes in that administration making the call. And within that, whoever's behind the scenes, there must be Judas goats, which are basically they're good guys pretending to be bad guys, influencing things behind the scenes to help Trump. Like, they're actually Trump allies. And so whoever that was is like, no, let's name Kamala the border czar. And that's like it's been perfect for Trump. And there's so many situations like that. But in a devolution scenario, you know, we've always been saying Biden's like got to be the candidate. He's got to be the candidate, because it's like perfect for the distinction of the fraud. I think they're going to steal this upcoming election. We can talk about that too, but they're not going to get away with it because it's going to be so obvious they stole it. Well, like the only person better in terms of the distinction between Trump and the other side might be Kamala Harris. Like it's almost too perfect. Like, how is she the candidate? So I mean, I don't think she's like part of the show or like playing a role or anything. I just think she's literally that terrible, and they've been influenced into picking Joe first and then running with Kamala. They had an opportunity to switch her out for anybody. They had their opportunity and they chose her anyway. Makes no sense.
I always bust John's balls, Joe. I'm always like, you know, have we checked Kamala's earlobes? I don't even think that that's Joe. I truly don't. We don't have to get that debate. It's silly at this point. But I don't. And so if I don't think that's Joe, and I think that he was the greatest red pill that the country's ever seen, then I can only logically draw the conclusion that Kamala Harris is an extension of that process. I'm not saying you're wrong. That's just my opinion on the thing.
Yeah, it's fair, man.
But I have what you sent over, the clip. You want me to pull that up?
Yeah, this is the clip of this guy, Mark Halperin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who he is, but let me see if I can figure that out while you play this.
So we'll talk about that. And then lastly, I'm going to return to the topic of, we have a few odds and ends, but I'm going to return to the topic of this opposition research that's being peddled. I've talked for the last couple of days about a story being peddled about Donald Trump that I'm confident is false, but it's caused a little bit of a upset in some circles, particularly Harris supporters who say I am morally obligated to tell people what the story is. That's not my conception of journalism. It's a false story. I'm not going to tell the world about a false story. There's a story being peddled now, and it's been peddled for a few days, but conversations today confirmed. Story being peddled about Kamala Harris. Okay. I don't think the Harris people want me to say what that story is. Okay. But we're going to talk about that and the dynamics. Again, if you think it's a coincidence that the Harris campaign decided to change its message for reasons we still don't know to something that Jeffrey Goldberg and the New York Times published stories about, you can call that a coincidence. You're welcome to do it. But we're going to talk about that. Zach Carabell is here. Hogan Gidley.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, let me add in. Did you watch yesterday Kamala's Donald Trump's a Nazi speech?
Yeah. Didn't she do that again today from the ellipse?
Did she do it again?
I don't know if it happened yet, but she was going to go there today and give another speech.
That's another telltale sign that they're getting their asses handed to them. They've went to the old tried and tested Nazi narrative on everything. It's been a bloodbath so far in the early voting. It has not went their way anyway at all, especially here in North Carolina. They're getting their asses handed to them in North Carolina in early voting.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that? Because in 2020, you know, we were encouraged not to early vote. We were supposed to go same day of. And in terms of the cheat, like it threw them off. They didn't know how much they had to steal. That's why they had to shut the machines down and all those things. This time around, like we're kicking their ass in the early polls. And so that takes away that narrative. But we are telling them exactly how many votes they're going to need to steal in the aftermath.
Yeah, I'm not. You go first, Joe.
No, I just wrote a whole. I wrote a whole sub on it yesterday. We could scroll it if you want.
Did you send me that in the private chat as well?
Yeah, I wrote number 1 on it.
Is that in private chat or you sent it to me in? on Twitter?
It's in Twitter DM.
I got you.
You've been killing it with that Substack too, man.
Yes. Yeah, and I will support it till the day I die. I think what Joe's doing is brilliant. You wrote number 1 on it. Number 1. Here we go. Sorry. Give me a second here.
So like John's saying, you know, we got Donald Trump, Dan Scavino, Cash Patel, Kerry Lake, General Flynn, all the people we look for signals for. They're all kind of opposite of what they were telling us in 2020. They're all telling us to go vote early, and this is just a snapshot of what Trump posted just a couple of days ago. So they're
interesting
all telling
that
us
Pennsylvania is not there, Joe. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, don't do that again. All right, keep scrolling.
My bad.
A little quicker. So we're short on time here.
Okay. Where am I going?
All right, click out of that weird X there. Yeah. So I followed his advice, and just go back up a little bit. I followed his advice. I voted here in Hillsborough County, and we just got the news that Hillsborough County is actually beating the Republicans for like the first time ever in early voting. We're leading in turnout here in Hillsborough County, Florida, and you can just keep scrolling past that. Let's just have a little fun with a Q-colored butterfly flew by me. All right, so an election day delta Q112. Go down so you can see the Q a little bit. So this is the one that Q. Keep scrolling so we can see the. Here you go. You're doing better at this. You know,
I think we have a lag.
Yeah. You and Paul get together on that. So election day delta Q112 is 11/5/2017, and about the 5th sentence from the bottom. Elections Tuesdays in brackets no longer matter at this stage. Now, when I wrote this and everything, I'm saying that's Q's not telling us not to go vote. Let's make that perfectly clear. But Q is also giving us a wink and a nod that something very major could be occurring. Okay, so that was my takeaway when Q wrote this, because election Tuesday on 11/5 that matches up with this Tuesday 11/5. Okay, and we happen to have on election day this giant, cybersecurity exercise by Homeland Security on 11/5. So those things are pretty hard to not say that that's a coincidence. All right, and then also for years I've been telling people, go read the initial 11/5 deltas for 2017, that they're all going to come into play. And then again, Q114 there, U.S. military savior of mankind, and some people took that as they got a little tweaked a little bit about that as well. But again, we're not saying that the military is above God or anything like that type of thing. We're just saying that there's certain levers in our system here that will protect us this time around. All right, keep scrolling. Go down till you see the next Q. Yeah, all right. So one of the last Qs Q gave us was also a November delta. This one's 11/18 delta. And what's it talking about? It's talking about all the election type of machines and fraud that could be found with Dominion and such. And then, General Flynn is always highlighting these different things for us to make sure we catch. But you got Dominion themselves coming out and saying all these crazy things that they're going to sue anybody who says anything weird. And Patrick Burns and Flynn were posting about different things that were found in Venezuela and different things like that. So you got the Q that was given to us to look for these different things on a November delta. We're heading into this election season. Everything is being pointed at. Keep on scrolling. I don't know if there's and basically I personally think that this, we did a lot of exposing the last time in 2020. This is the year that we show, and that's the reason is we're banking all these early votes. So now the cheat would have to probably come, like what John was saying, in a big fashion and it would probably have to come through the machines and different things like that. So now we can really expose that part of the fraud in a way where people wouldn't be able to easily deny it. And Q right here, another Delta, November 14th Delta is talking about, at what point do patriots, hardworking men and women, become the minority? What about the voting machines? Who owns the voting machines? What about voter ID laws? Voter ID, why is it necessary? And, you know, doing all these other things that you have to do in your life, that you have to present photo ID, but you don't have to do it to decide a president. Come on. So, and then I just posted, this is going to be the election. I'm with John that there could be some craziness here in early November. Then things get funneled out. Trump is eventually going to get to be president in 2025. But, you know, Donald Trump talks about same day voting, paper ballots, no machines, all these types of things. And he says, you know, get me back in and we'll get there. Well, this would be how. This is the how, okay, that we capture everything and we really show it. You know, we're showing in the polls right now with Donald Trump with 10, 12, the betting market has them like up by 30%, you know. So if somehow they try to rig this all this time around, nobody's going to buy it, and then we'll expose all this damage. And that was the Substack there.
Awesome. I don't disagree, man. As much as we would all love to see a Trump landslide and see Trump Mondale the shit out of Harris, I don't know that. I think that narrative's too hard to spin back around to exposure of the fraud itself. I think that the best mechanism to expose it to the American public would be her to steal it. I mean, he's obviously through optics set up to win the election. I don't know many people that would buy him losing the election at this point like they would at 2020, because as we talked about on Monday, that mechanism with the mail-in votes and the absentee votes really isn't there this year. It's almost completely gone. And you know, the cyber attack, or the cyber
exercise.
The cyber exercise, dude. I trust that as much as I trust a Haitian with my cat. I mean, it's like I seem to recall a time when NORAD was doing an exercise during 9/11 that was the exact same thing that was going on as 9/11. So they're putting the seeds out there already. You know, it's going to take 10 to 13 days to get results, and they're at the very least they're going to try their ass off to steal it. And I this is where I side with John. I think they're going to be successful, and I think that's the mechanism used to unveil the fraud. So I agree with John and Joe on that front, man.
John, I want to let you go before does this Q stuff blow your mind sometimes with your research?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love seeing the drops, and it's one of the reasons I haven't like dug in and gone through it myself, is because I think it does very much overlap with devolution and the stuff I've researched. And I don't want to take away from stuff that I stumble on, you know, organically. And I know there would be some benefit. I know some people who use Q just for the research aspect of it, and so there would be benefit to it. But I don't know, it's too good to like for me to dig into it, because I think it so much overlaps. But yeah, these guys are both spot on. That was very interesting, Stormy, seeing the drops that line up with this. It doesn't make sense. Like this election doesn't make sense. It's a fake election, like Chris Paul says. Trump won in 2020. Whatever we're going through right now is for the narrative of it. And I think the best narrative long term for the country and for the world is to expose the fraud. I don't think, you know, it's either that or Trump does win, but they steal down ballot and remove him on J6, like they've been hinting at too. Like so, but yeah, I think the best case scenario for us is honestly a steal, an obvious steal that somehow gets corrected. Don't know how, but I think that's where we're headed.
I'm trying to see if I even added it, because it seems to me that there has to be a major shift in what mainstream media is reporting for this to go through. And I think we're starting to see it, but it's getting to an extreme level. Like, you know, Kamala coming out and saying he, you know, wants generals like fucking Hitler. Excuse my language, but like that's absurd, right? And then we're seeing people like Jimmy Kimmel and Morning Ho talking about, I don't even know what it's like to have to face the idea that we might have a loss or we might not have a result, and it may take multiple days. They seem to be starting the narrative seed it, but it's still extreme. There's still an extreme message coming from the other side, and unfortunately, there is a base for that extreme messaging. And I feel like maybe it just has to continue to get more and more extreme, but we're really coming down to the wire here.
Mm.
The second thing I sent you in DM kind of expands off of that. It's news that bounced off of today, and then the Eye of the Storm team was looking at stuff going back to July, and there was some cues in July that lined up with what General Flynn was saying in July, and then it all pulled forward to today's news. So if you want to pull that up quick. All right, so this is going back to July. So General Flynn on July 20th posted basically, so he's replying to somebody talking about, CrowdStrike and all this type of stuff. Okay. So General Flynn writes, is this a 0-day test run, asking for a friend, and that was on July 20th. And the Storm team, we were talking about it, Abs and Rev and I, and then Kim and Shannon were talking about the different cues that bounced off of. And, Q says 0-day flat out in Q 2793, the second graphic in. And then on Q 3070, Q talked about Zero Cool. Okay, so Zero Cool was a character in a movie called Hackers. Okay, now in July, almost a perfect delta. The bottom right, 4587. Q was writing July 17th about what? Prepare for a 0-day massive cyber attack attempts on, and then 11.4. Think about, election day is 11.5, if you will. So, we've had this in our chat. We've been looking at this since July and talking about this coming November. So, we bounced it off these cues, and go to the next graphic. All right, so we kind of already just rolled through this earlier in the Substack. The 11.5 delta is lining up with 11.5 on the cybersecurity exercise. Next screen. Also, and we talked about this that Q hit on his last batch of Qs that we got. This was an 11.18 delta, talking about all the machines and different things like that, and Patriots in trusted positions. That's a key phrase here. All right, let's keep rolling. And the last one. So, all right, so Dan gives us another clue. All right, Dan writes 0 in capital letters, and he wrote this 2 days ago, October 22nd, and the timestamp was 11:40, so 11.4. You go to Q 4587. That one that we were talking about earlier with Flynn with the 717, and again 0 connects with what he's talking about, massive power attacks, cyber attacks on 11.4 matches Dan's timestamp and the word 0 that he capitalized. Next day, where is Dan? Dan is in Dan and Trump in Georgia. Now that brings us to today or yesterday's news or whatever you want to say. That the Georgia election officials say that they're talking about using the phrase and everything 0-day attacks on the election. So that's how all those things connected to kind of expand upon what I wrote on the Substack the other day.
Didn't Flynn write an article about like they're going to steal the election? I know I remember this, but I'm trying to find it and I can't. But this was like 2 years ago on his website. He put out this article, and it talked all about how they're going to steal the election because not enough has happened. I'm going to see if I can find this, because I think that was very much signal back then, and he's shifted away from that messaging. But let me see if I can find it.
And the wild thing about Flynn, just days after 2020, he was talking about, well, we could see that it came down to these swing states, only a handful of states by a handful of votes, and pretty much any logical person can agree that there's enough proof in these swing states that we should take a deeper look. And then he started talking about, let's just have martial law, let's just have these 4 swing states do another election with military control over it. So I would keep those things in the back of my mind going forward.
Yeah, this is from May 4th, 2023. We're not going to win 2024, but the governors can change everything.
Testing.
Yeah.
It is definitely interesting. I remember that article, but yeah.
With huge crust of 5th generation warfare on top of it. So, like, I mean, not that it's not real, but have we lost America to a Marxist communist movement? This is the motivational part of what it is to motivate society at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, read this, like the second and third paragraph there, and even the fourth. Like, from why have I asked these questions? You ask. It's because the Marxist left has so corrupted America and its election system that it appears no Republican candidate can win in 2024. There, I said it. It won't happen. Instead, these next 2 years will not simply be the same as the past two. They will be far worse. The election system in our country, in practically every single state, is simply broken and fosters little trust among the voting population, and the Marxist left loves it. You can blame it on machines, mail-in ballots, ballot harvesting, or some other means of voting irregularity, all of which are symptoms of a far greater problem: the deep-seated corruption of our federal-level political class that filters down to every county. The political class has practically shredded our Constitution and destroyed any modicum of freedom being held together by those constitutional remnants.
Okay, so I see what you guys are saying. I want to throw up the clip that I pulled yesterday. I didn't plan on doing this, but I'm going to, because I want to see what your initial reaction would have been, because mine was not good. Let me see where I have it here. Sorry, give me a second. Is this it?
Taking days off at levels, not seeing here. She's thinking.
Yeah, this is it. All right, hold on. Let me send it over there. When I heard this the very first time, I thought exactly what you guys are talking about. Donald Trump just admitted they're going to steal the election. And then I started to think about it, and there is a lot of more possibilities, because, you know, Trump talks out the side of his mouth. But take a listen to this.
That she's taking days off at levels, not seen. I hear she's taking another one tomorrow or something. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Maybe she knows something we don't know. That's bad, right? Maybe she knows something we don't know. Does everybody understand that? Maybe. She.
That's kind of crazy.
We talked about that last night a little bit. It's the way he says it, the way he like smirks when he looks off to the crowd and says that maybe she knows something we don't. He knows what it is, whatever's coming. And then we tied this back to the Hillary Clinton and what she said when she was at her foundation. I think it was a book tour or something she was doing, and she brought up the Pizzagate stuff. Like, she basically predicted, or says, you know, the host asked her, what do you think is going to happen if you could see the future, tell the future, what do you think is coming?
Yeah.
And she goes into this whole spiel about the media's not being harsh enough on Trump, and they need to be ready because something's going to come and it's going to be bad. And then she relates it to Pizzagate. And so I think that's what we're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trump said something similar with Biden and Obama. So, like, if you remember when Biden was quote unquote running, like, Obama wouldn't endorse him, and so Trump said, "Why isn't Obama endorsing Joe?" He's like, maybe he knows something that we don't, So I related it back to that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, they were definitely interesting comments. What's going to come of it? I tend to think there's definitely something coming. I mean, when they start throwing Nazi at Trump and start throwing around these very flimsy Epstein allegations against Trump, it's them getting out ahead of something. So something's coming.
It seemed to me that, I actually posted it like, there it is, confirmation, they're going to steal it. And then I turned around and meditated, prayed for a second, is what I do. And I went back to the drop and I looked, and some of the comments were like, we don't agree. And I was like, you know what? I'm deleting that. So I went at it from a Socratic method, where I asked the question, what does this mean? What do you guys think it means? And dude, the thing's got 600,000 views at this point, because nobody is sure. Everybody's speculating. I mean, it could literally mean that they're going to steal it. It could literally mean that she knows she's about to be exposed. It could literally be that we're not going to have the election. It could mean so many things that it's kind of ridiculous. Like, to take a step back, 40,000 foot view on that comment, you're like, Trump's telling us something, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah. I like what John pointed toward the smirk as he was saying it. He absolutely knows what it is, and it's not lost on me that was it last week, toward the tail end of last week, that Space Force shuttle went back up pre-election again. So it's, you know, maybe he's well aware they're going to steal it again, but this time he knows that it's not going to stand, that it's not going to go like 2020 went. Maybe that's what the smirk was about. I don't know. This is all, of course, speculation, but he knows something. He knows something's coming.
I think we can agree on one thing. It's that point. He knows something's coming and he looks confident.
Well, it's that October surprise, right? I mean, this comes every election. What they have on Trump is nothing, and so they're recycling old bullshit, right? Like completely made up, fabricated stories about him groping a girl or whatever, and they tie it to Epstein, and then this story about him being Hitler or what. Total bullshit, and it's complete reruns. Like they've done the same thing before, and we're only going to see more of that. But we haven't seen a Kamala Harris October surprise yet.
Right.
You know, last night we were kicking back a little bit. You know, maybe it's this Iran hacking stuff. I think that's, you know, more of the corruption of the administration as a whole. And I think we're going to see the resolution to that once Trump's back in there. I don't think we've seen the actual October surprise yet. And whatever it is, I think it's going to be pretty stellar for what Hillary Clinton said.
Yeah.
I just wonder when it's going to happen.
I kind of keep going back to the Pizzagate stuff and the Diddy stuff coming out. You know, obvious logic points you toward, hey, it's going to come out that Kamala was at quite a few Diddy parties, but that's almost too easy of a layup. So is it that, or is it going to be something else? I don't know, but you're absolutely right, dude. We haven't seen an October surprise on Kamala yet. And I think given Trump's body language and what he was saying last night, whatever it is probably going to be something big. And who knows what comes of it, man? Is it the kind of thing that would have the kind of effect that removes her from the election and delays the election? I don't know. All of these things are a possibility, which is the craziest thing to me. You can come up with at least a half dozen possibilities from this election, which tells you there's definitely some fourth psyop fuckery going on at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah, I've gone through this timeline on Eye of the Storm. So way back 2015 or so, Donald Trump donated to Kamala Harris. As Joe Biden was picking a VP candidate, Donald Trump said, I hope it's Kamala Harris. She'd be my number one draft choice if he picks her. He was very happy that that Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. He said, she's my number one draft choice.
No way.
Then he said, both him and his attorney said that there's something about her past that makes her ineligible, and that Joe Biden should have really vetted that situation, but that's up to him. That's on Joe. I don't have anything else to say about it, but it would be something if that come back to haunt them. So all those things added up to me weren't all laid there without an end game. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But those are the things that bounce off of my mind when I hear Trump smirking and talking about things that could happen with Kamala Harris.
Joe, there's a few small bullet points I want to add to that. So first and foremost, Kamala Harris received no votes, right? That's a big one everybody's aware of. And then there was a small bullet point that only hit for a week or two that everybody seems to forget, but she used Joe Biden's what's the number? What do they call it? Registration number. For that's a big deal. A much bigger deal than I think that the mainstream or any of us even gave it credit for. You can't use his registration number for campaign dollars. It's completely illegal. So she's now been installed. She may have potential ineligibility issues, according to what Donald Trump said prior, and she's illegally using money. There's nothing about this that stacks up to real to me.
Are we sure that I see? We've never really had a situation like this, though. So I don't know if that's normal or if that's okay. Because I thought the only person that could take over campaign dollars would be a running mate like this.
I went and found this. It adds
awesome.
into it. You had never seen this, John, so I'm going to go ahead and play it for you, man.
So President Trump wasted no time addressing Biden's pick for running mate while speaking to reporters yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
She was my number one draft pick, and we'll see how she works out. She did very, very poorly in the primaries, as you know. She was expected to do well. She was extraordinarily nasty to Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh then, now Justice Kavanaugh. She was nasty to a level that was just a horrible thing, the way she was, the way she treated now Justice Kavanaugh. One of the reasons that surprised me, she was probably nastier than even Pocahontas to Joe Biden. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden. And it's hard to pick somebody that's that disrespectful.
All right,
What was the date on that?
Give me 1 second. I'll let you know, man.
That's fascinating.
It says
You should send me that link.
August 12th, 2020. I'll go drop it in the group right now, man.
So, before the election.
Oh, that's
before
fascinating.
Biden's election, yeah.
Because he just recently said something similar, except like she was my second draft choice in terms of like who to run against. You know, like when they swapped out Biden, he said something very similar. But that is interesting.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, all this stuff is unprecedented. But it's the fact that we all here agree there's some level of like constraint upon what is happening, like some level of control. We don't know exactly how much control it is or what it looks like. But to me, it always comes down to Trump walked away from a stolen election. And I can't imagine him relying on that same election system to get him back into office. Like there's something more here. He doesn't need this election to return. It's a narrative election. We're going through the motions of an election, but there's going to be something else that sparks an awakening to show either how fraudulent the system is in general, which will expose how fraudulent 2020 was, or something. I don't know what it is, but the whole point is like Trump is not relying on this election to get back to office because he won in 2020 and he put something in place and walked away. And that's like my key point when I look at everything.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's my favorite point of yours that you've made, man. And I repeat that often on Eye of the Storm, actually, is that he told us all year in 2020 it was going to be stolen. It wasn't a secret to him that they were going to steal it, which means simply if he left office knowing the country was going to be stolen by communists and did nothing other than hope he could get reelected in 2024, as much as I love the dude, he becomes the most derelict president in the history of the United States. And that doesn't vibe with what we know of Donald Trump's character and, for lack of a better word, ego. I mean, that wouldn't work for him. I don't at all buy that he knew it was going to be stolen and just stepped away and said, well, hope I get reelected in 2024. Hope isn't a tactic, man, and he knows that. I absolutely agree with you there, John.
I agree too. Can I take you guys through a timeline where I think that, okay, so John, I know you saw, my April Fool's post that Joe then went on top of, okay, because I saw that you reposted it. I'd like to go even a step further back. The main key points that devolution could be possible, correct me if I'm wrong, are that certain circumstances had to take place, whether it be a stolen election or an attack on our soil, i.e. COVID.
Act of war.
Right,
so I
an act of
think
war.
at some point Trump considered the actions of another country to be an act of war or to be a transnational criminal organization. Like that's the part that's kind of we don't know for sure where he did it or what he looked at, but I think he had plenty of options to choose from.
So what I did this morning was I pulled up some of those old press conferences that coincide kind of in the same timeline as the April Fool's thing. So I noticed some really cool Q hat tips as well as confirmation of what we were just talking about. So I just wanted to run through a few clips and get your guys, and I also want to play the add-on, the absolute brilliant, in my opinion, decode that Joe and the Eye of the Storm team did on top of my April Fool's thing. So the first one, this is March 18th, right? So this is March 18th, 2020. This isn't the devolution part. This would be a Q hat tip, in my opinion. Joe, I don't even know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. You're freaking brilliant. Check this out.
Massive ships. They're the big white ships with the red cross on the sides. One is called the Mercy and the other is called the Comfort. And they are in tip-top shape. They soon will be. They're getting ready to come up to New York. I spoke with Governor Cuomo about it. He's excited.
Okay, so we got plus, and we got tip top in the same speech where he's about to tell you we're at war.
And there's
Those-
more. I'd have to find it, but go ahead and I'll find it and get back.
Okay. So here is that same speech on the 18th, where I would believe that this would give devolution credence.
The job we're doing. And I'm glad that this team and me are here for this horrible thing. I mean, it's a number of people have said it, and I feel it actually. I'm a wartime president. This is a war. This is a war, different kind of a war that we've ever had.
Okay.
What was the date on this again?
March 18th of 2020. Okay. So both those clips came from an hour and a half long press conference. I can't possibly play them all in the show. Those were the two. One, I was like, yo, plus, and freaking tip top. He's literally hat tipping the people on the boards. And at the same time, he's declaring war, which is evolution.
That's one of the most interesting clips from Trump's time in office to me, is him saying, I'm a wartime president, we're at war. Because, of course, after he got out of office, and even while he's in office, he totes how he kept America out of all of these unnecessary wars. And then there he is during COVID, I'm a wartime president. So it's clearly not being said in jest, in my opinion. We played on Eye of the Storm a couple weeks ago, the COVID press conference there with Milley and all the other military people. And I just couldn't remember a time where I ever saw a virus being talked about by the military and the chief of the Joint Chiefs. It was just, it reeks like there was absolutely a military operation going on with COVID. That's what I get from it, man. We don't have to go super deep into that one, but that's what I get from it.
Well, it gets deeper. Big fat hat tip to my buddy Dave from News Treason. So, like, you guys at Eye of the Storm have your team. Me and Dave have been working really hard together to dig as second generation anons and just do our best to even try to keep up with you guys, right? But Dave had me look at the 27th of March. So this is only a week later. Okay. And there's two major Q hat tips here and yet another confirmation that we're at war. Okay. So check this out. This is, I don't remember which one this is. I'll play first.
So I didn't go into it with a very favorable view. I was extremely unhappy with Lordstown, Ohio, where they left Lordstown, Ohio in the middle of an auto boom because we had 17 car companies coming in and then they were leaving one plant in Ohio. I love Ohio. And what happened?
Okay. In passing, potential, might could be, might could not be, Q reference with the 17, as he says all the freaking time, right? And then the other one is he then tells you that we're at war and he uses the reference, the only reference that would be 1917. I'm going to tell you right now, if I was to go in front of a microphone and tell the country that we were at war and I was going to use an attack on our soil as a reference, I would probably use 9/11. I might use Pearl Harbor, but I'm certainly not going to use 1917, a submarine attack that led us into the war with the Germans. So it just seems very odd to me that he chose 1917 while also telling us that we were at war. Check this out.
Elementary school, middle school, high school, what would you tell them right now who are watching from home?
I would say that you are a citizen of the greatest country anywhere in the world. And we were attacked like nothing that's happened possibly since 1917, many, many years ago. We were attacked and we're winning the battle and we're going to win the war. And it's not going to take hopefully that much longer, but we have to win the war. And I would say that they have a duty to sit back, watch, behave, wash their hands, stay in the apartment with mom and dad. They look like they're lucky to have you as a father, and just learn from it. But you know, the young people have been tremendous. Some of them.
Okay.
So he not just there, but he repeatedly talked about COVID versus the Spanish flu. And he would always call it the Spanish flu of 1917, even after being corrected and trolled on by the media saying the Spanish flu was 1918. He was always leading you to 1917 with the kind of purpose that you're talking about. He was always doing that.
Can I share a clip here?
Absolutely.
This is from the same press conference where he talks about being a wartime president.
Yeah.
These are some interesting comments here too.
Working very closely with Dr. Ben Carson and everybody from HUD. Every generation of Americans has been called to make shared sacrifices for the good of the nation. In World War II, young people in their teenage years volunteered to fight. They wanted to fight so badly because they love our country. Workers refused to go home and slept on factory floors to keep assembly lines running. And, you know, the numbers of ships that they built during World War II to this day nothing like that has ever been equaled. They were doing ships literally on a daily basis. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And to this day, nobody's seen anything like that, what they were able to do during World War II. And now it's our time. We must sacrifice together because we are all in this together and we'll come through together. It's the invisible enemy. That's always the toughest enemy, the invisible enemy, but we're going to defeat.
I mean, it's just interesting the way he talks about it. He doesn't even really say COVID throughout that whole thing. He's just talking about the invisible enemy, and everything's like a wartime reference.
What the hell? Why does he keep doing that? I'm making
that invisible enemy thing bangs right back off all the enemy within comments Trump and his whole circle have been making lately too. It's like it's circled right back around to that.
Yeah, Stormy,
that is an interesting point. Well, okay, so now add all of that up. What I showed, which in my opinion are blatant Q references, it's blatant declaration of war, enemy from within. We've now gotten with your clip, and Donald Trump has now done this, I don't know, 17 times or so. I'm joking, but you guys get the point. He's literally pointing to this chart ad nauseum. Okay, so here's the most recent one. This is yesterday.
There it is. I was looking at me. I started looking at me, and I'm looking. I do not like the wear. I don't like my hair tonight.
All right, we all remember the Q reference where he said, "Comb your hair," right? Okay.
Nice. I started looking at me, but I'd rather look at the chart. The chart. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that chart, right? Wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here, but if you notice the arrow on the bottom, I take it to bed every night and I kiss it. You roll it up and just kiss it. See the arrow on the bottom? That is the day I left office. Look what happened after that. What they've done to our country is unbelievable. And that includes human trafficking, which is mostly in women. Do you know they lost 325,000 children in the last 3.5 years? Think of that. That's your biggest stadium, filled up many, many times. 325,000. They're either dead, they're sex slaves, or they're slaves, but they're missing. Probably most of them never to be seen again.
Okay. Do we have thoughts yet? Because I'm going to show what Joe found here in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked about this chart all the time. And I mean, the big one is like right at the bottom is it clearly shows that arrow in April saying that's when Trump left office, right? And I mean, narratively speaking, that is not when he left office. And to me, it's like, I think I even was texting back with Beer at the parade about this. He's like, talk about a huge devolution proof. It's like, yes, you could look at it that way. But for me, I don't personally use it as a devo proof because I think there's more concrete stuff showing. Like he took actions. Like I can point to executive orders and NSPMs and all these different things that took place. I'd rather just start there than go with a chart that people could say, well, I mean, who put the arrow there? Who made the chart? I think it was Ron Johnson that gave him the chart. I don't think it was like Trump and himself who created the chart. It's Ron Johnson gave it to him and then his team like went through it. But I mean, it's beyond ridiculous how many times he's referenced this thing as being important. So it's almost hard to ignore,
Let's acknowledge something real quick, right? John, your research is next level, right? The level that these two decode Q is, it can't be described by anything but the same thing, next level. And my strength, I think, is going through these Trump speeches and finding the 3 sentences in his 2-hour speeches that line up with what these two do, which lines up with what you do, right? So this is why I was so excited to do the show. Trump has told us so many times that we're sort of in my second term right now. He's told us that, am I going to be considered 2-term or 3-term if I get elected again? He's literally just now here. Let's not forget the day he left when he said, I'll be back in some form. And now just recently, he just in a barbershop sat here and told us that I've been 4 years in DC plus another 4 years, which I've sort of been there in a way. How am I supposed to look past those quotes? And why is the mainstream media not freaking asking them?
Yeah.
I think because they know. I think it's the same reason they don't ask him what is Q, who is Q. They don't want the answer. They don't want the Streisand effect from that answer to happen. Is my guess, man.
It's blowing my mind. So here's the April Fool. Go ahead, John.
He's been getting a lot more direct with his, I think, comms. You know, and Trump is really one of the main ones I look to for comms. I know a lot of people look at other, you know, interesting folks that are inner circle. To me, we can speculate who we think is inner circle, but the only one that you know we know for sure is Trump. So when Trump is given a comm, and he's been so much more direct the last like month, I would say, the committee thing that he said multiple times now, where he's talking about these last 4 years kind of being in office. I mean, he's just getting way more direct with what he's saying, and it's always in those little asides, the weaves that he does, right? Where he has stuff on a teleprompter and he'll look away at the crowd and just start rambling on his own. That's where the messaging is, like the stuff that you look for. The stuff on the teleprompter his team puts together. It's everything else that's, I think, the important stuff. And that's where these comms are coming from. So it's
John,
it's
can
interesting.
I ask you a dumb question, John?
There are no dumb questions.
No, this is something I don't think you'd normally answer. Do you think that Donald Trump made a mistake when he put 45-47 on the side of his hat?
Well, I don't think he did it.
You think he's rocking it at every speech, knowing that we're out here going 45-47, the pause. And he's like, I'll just keep wearing this, even though there's a mistake on the side.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he does everything on purpose. I think, see, a lot of things Trump does.
I've seen you talk about the glass of water.
Yep, exactly. He knows about like the community, right? Like he's got tabs on what we do in the Q community or the Anon community or whatever. We're like the, I don't know, the ugly stepchild who nobody Normieville or mainstream wants to touch us, but Trump knows about us and knows how important our role is. And so he's constantly like doing things to acknowledge the community and keep us like motivated and engaged, because he knows losing us is a bad thing for the narrative war, information war. And so that's why he does stuff like that. He'll like retweet Q posts. Like one time he retweeted a DPH episode that somebody had linked. He'll do stuff like that to keep us going.
I love the timing of when he retweeted. I remember when he retweeted retweeted DPH. The timing of that was pretty awesome. No need for further talk, but Badlands itself was going through a lot of shit at that time, and here comes Trump over the top, like, hey, check these guys out. This is great stuff. It was really good timing on his end, which leads me to believe exactly what you just said, dude, that he absolutely has his finger on the pulse of all this stuff. I mean, if we're talking about a military operation going on, whether or not it's the Q operation or devolution or something we haven't even contemplated yet, why would you not keep an eye on large influencers and groups of influencers to make sure they're kind of projecting a good message and not undermining everything, man? I would just think that would have to be a part of it, right? I mean, I'm not suggesting that he's the one sitting at his computer keeping tabs on everybody, but he's certainly got to have people on his inner circle keeping tabs on everybody, man.
Oh, for sure.
Look, I'm just going to keep it completely real. The second I pulled that pause clip from the announcement that he was going to run for president in 2022, and it caught traction, right? It wasn't the first person. I probably wasn't the last person that put that up, but on my account, it caught traction. I don't know why, but it did. And as soon as it hit 10 or 20 million, people like you, John, played it on your show. Patrick played it on his show. Different people, and we know played it. It went on and on, X22. And then all of a sudden, Trump did it 3-4 more times. Literally went on speeches and did the pause part in a different interpretation 3 or 4 more times right after that. There's no way they're not watching. There's no way. We've seen hat tips on Eye of the Storm. I've seen hat tips from Devolution. They are watching and paying attention. I agree with you. But do you think that there isn't some reality behind it? Look, this is why I ask. The 25th Amendment will have no risk to me. However, we'll come back to haunt Joe Biden and the Biden administration, and it happened. Trump seems to be right about everything. And when he says these things and narrative seeds them, they seem to come true. Am I nuts?
I mean, we're all a little nuts.
Yeah. Like I said to you on Friday, brother, you're nuts, but not for that. Well, and Q told us too, has POTUS ever made a statement that turned out to be factually incorrect? So that's another reason, just as John said, I do pay attention to more Trump comms than anything else. I pay attention to a couple other folks, Flynn, Scavino, but not a whole lot outside of that for direct comms on the thing. But when Trump is hitting comms, I pay attention because you're right, Joe, to this point, he's not misspoken when he's talking about this kind of stuff. And it may take a while for it to come around and the truth to be seen, but the truth is always seen when he speaks that kind of stuff, man.
You know what? You know something he was wrong about? Because I've thought about this. I've thought about it. Why hasn't China gone into Japan? Or is that where they were going?
Taiwan.
That's what I meant. Why hasn't China gone into Taiwan? What happened? Something happened. That to me goes against everything I believe. So something changed. That makes it more of a chess match in my head. Like, okay, so something was happening and something didn't go correctly to where the plan went to the way he was projecting it. That's the only thing I can think of that's like a glaring.
What if the election goes down and no matter what course it takes, Trump is confirmed as the winner, but before the inauguration, that's when the China going into Taiwan card is pulled to try to jumpstart some kind of world conflict to keep the inauguration from happening. That's an option as well.
Yeah. Two quick things on that. That's exactly where I was going to go to is I think I thought today, like North Korea is scurrying things around Ukraine and stuff. So there's all these global pieces starting to move towards what Paul is describing. But I was reminded about it when you were talking about the ship, and I said I was going to have you pull something up. Can you pull up Q521? This Q, Paul and I read almost every single show. I think it's probably
521.
521. I think it's probably, if not like the most important, it's one of the most important Q posts, and it hasn't fully developed yet. And I think this transition period between election day and inauguration day, I personally feel like that's when this is going to be very important. And it happens to be a delta of January 13th. So Trump is, like I say on Eye of the Storm, like what we've said here so far today, we listen to Donald Trump very, very closely. So it's not just Paul and I and team creating these narratives. We're listening to what Donald Trump says. So what does Donald Trump say in public? He says he's the only one that could stop World War III. We're closer to it than you know. And he can fix it in 24 hours. He says he knows all the players. He says he'll fix it. And he says he'll fix it before he gets into office, but after election day. So Trump has given you that window. So it's not just me creating this out of smoke. But go ahead, Rambo, and just read this cue for us.
All right, 5/21/113/2018. We are fighting for life. We are fighting for good. We are at war in kill brackets. Not everything will be clean. Scare in kill brackets necessary event. Do you trust the U.S. military? Do you trust the chain of command? Have faith. We are in control. Patriots Day. Have faith. You were chosen for a reason. You are being provided the highest level of intel to ever be dropped publicly in the history of the world. Use it, protect, and comfort those around you. Where we go one, we go all. Q.
Perfect. So much in there. Just yesterday, Cash Patel was talking about the chain of command and different things around that. I personally don't believe we've had the biggest scare necessary event. I have some theories on what that could be. It's in the news, put it that way, with missiles and planes and things like that. So everything there in that is like a blueprint of what to look for. And it really coincides with everything Trump is saying in the public narrative that we're closer than we've ever been before. He's the only one that could stop, World War III. That now we have assets moving around. We also had, and I think you saw it too, Joe, is the 4 carriers that are in the Pacific, and that is in the Q post that look for this time frame. And not only does it connect with the Q post, but it also connects with the timeline, because Q talks about the transitional period. So that transitional period is between election day and inauguration day. Okay. So there's so many things that are kind of boxed in around the time frame of whenever we settle, because we all 4 of us agree that we're not going to have an answer on November 5th. But whenever that gets settled, then between there and I think it's January 20th is inauguration day, I think there's going to be, that Q in particular, very, very, very important. And maybe that is when China goes into Taiwan, to answer your question.
China just did a drill this last week. I think it was October 14th, where they literally did a blockade around Taiwan. Like they encircled it. I'm pretty sure.
I think I saw it was something like 127 ships were surrounding Taiwan or something like that. It was a pretty big number. Stormy, correct me if I'm wrong, man, but as it pertains to the 4 carrier groups in the Pacific, this is the first time we've seen that since that drop, right? It's always either been 3 carrier groups or more, but never right at 4 carrier groups in the Pacific, correct?
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's I know we're down to the wire. Well, I'll tell you what.
Maybe pull up that Q for the hell of it if you want. Just type in 4 carriers in the Q drops.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
I believe it talks about the transition period.
While you're doing that, I want to get John's take on this. So this is where I was headed with my timeline. So let's do that, and then we'll continue with the Q drops. So Joe, this is your clip from your Twitter on top of my post. It doesn't need much explanation. You do a great job. But check this out.
I think we found a pretty damn interesting tie-in to Donald Trump trolling about April Fool's Day, his famous chart, and some more additional information that kind of confirms the first things that Rambo is going to show you here. We found some things on the back end. So what Rambo's talking about is this famous chart, okay? And we've all seen the chart that says, Trump left office, and it's pointing to sometime in April there, okay? But what Rambo's pointing out is, and Donald Trump has been saying it time and time again, is, hey, every day is like April Fool's Day. So let's play that for a quick sec.
This calamity and disaster that Joe, and there's never been a period of time like it. Every day for the United States, though, is April Fool's Day. This just occurred to me yesterday.
All right, so he keeps saying that over and over and over this past 4 years. Every day is like April Fool's Day. Okay, so now that when the chart came out and we got this time period that he's supposedly left office at the lowest point, okay, it lines up with April Fool's Day. And Rambo's take is, so let me get this straight. Trump's favorite chart, the one that saved his life, says he left office in April Fool's Day 2020. And it's odd that he keeps saying April Fools to go on and on and on and time again. Okay. Now, Shannon took a look at his tweets back in the day. And what do we have here? Okay. So I'm going to give you a little background on it if I can. So this was a quote unquote COVID task force. Okay. That had, and this is on April 1st, 2020. And he had Pence there. He had Esper. He had Bill Barr. He had National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and others. General Milley. Okay. Does this sound like people getting together to talk about COVID? They start spinning it off. It's about drugs or something. But I really kind of get a feeling this was a much, much deeper tell, if you will. So let's listen to what they said in this conference.
And thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. And I want to publicly thank Admiral Craig Fowler, the commander of U.S. Southern Command out of Miami, for leading this operation, which is underway effective today.
Operation.
And also Admiral Gilday, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Schultz, for their contributions to this from their services. There's thousands of sailors, Coast Guardsmen, soldiers, airmen, Marines involved in this operation. We came upon some intelligence some time ago that the drug cartels, as a result of COVID-19, were going to try to take advantage of the situation and try to infiltrate additional drugs into our country. As we know, the 70,000 Americans die on an average annual basis to drugs. That's unacceptable. We're at war with COVID-19, we're at war with terrorists, and we are at war with the drug cartels as well. This is the United States military. You will not penetrate this country. You will not get past Jump Street. You're not going to come in here and kill additional Americans. And we will marshal whatever assets are required to prevent your entry into this country to kill Americans. So right now, the Navy has marshaled additional gray hull ships from both PACOM and UCOM and for the Naval Fleet at Norfolk. And they are set sail already, and they are in the Caribbean right now. In addition to that, there's 10 Coast Guard cutters, and there's Special Operations Forces and Security Force Assistance Brigades, along with Air Force reconnaissance aircraft. The bottom line is you're not going to get through. Now is not the time to try to penetrate the United States with illegal drugs to kill Americans. But with the United States military, we will defend our country regardless of the cost. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Secretary.
Okay, did that sound anything like a COVID presser, or did that sound like a much bigger operation looking back on how everything lines up with the take? Okay, so you got Trump consistently saying every day is like April Fool's Day. We got his favorite chart pointing to this day in April that he's claiming is the lowest point in immigration, illegal immigration when he left office. And then you have this presser that he lines up all those people I talked about on April Fool's 2020. Wow. Did we just prove a handoff to devolution? Maybe.
John, I gotta hear your thoughts, bro.
I mean, it's compelling shit, man. Like it's compelling. Where I run into struggles with Trump handing stuff off that early is some of the executive orders and the NSPMs that come after that date. Like there's a lot of material that I've written about, and maybe it's just my own confirmation bias that won't let me get over that hurdle, and that's probably what it is. But it's like hard to argue with some of that. They used a lot of COVID as the cover and the justification to do a lot of weird things that don't make sense. And this is one of those things, like this huge drug operation. It just doesn't make sense. And those are a lot of big names that were in that presser too.
Yeah.
That hit in the Devo series too. So
dude, there wasn't even a presser like that with that many generals and military personnel when Reagan announced the war on drugs. So no, there was something that was not a presser just about COVID or drugs making it into the country. In my opinion, it's not just the words that Milley was using either. It was his posture, his body language. He was fired up about something that wasn't just a virus, in my opinion. And I have gotten my ass kicked for staying on the hill that Milley is one of our dudes. And I know that optics suggests that he is as far from being one of our dudes as he possibly could be, but that's kind of the point of optics.
Bro, he literally left that press conference, put lipstick on and said, "Would you F me? I'd F me."
Right. And so, I go back to, let's look at the election in 2020, and a mere 4 days after that election, Trump is at the Army-Navy game with John Ratcliffe and Mark Milley. I don't think 4 days after that stolen election, if Milley's a black hat working against Trump, Trump is going to be with Milley at the Army-Navy game with John Ratcliffe. That's kind of what one of the things of signal for that with that for me is. It's just, I think it's all kind of circumstantial and speculative, but I have no doubt there's a military operation going on behind the curtain, man.
Chris Miller was there too.
Because of course he was.
Abs, I want to hold you up just one more second because I think it applies. So this is not the most recent, but the one just prior. Now he just talked about the drug aspect. I actually tagged Joe in this when I posted it. Listen to him tell you about the chart this time.
All time, I love that chart. I sleep with it. I sleep with that chart. And it showed the best numbers. Put the chart up if you would. Just put it up. Put it up if you can. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. We didn't have that chart, I wouldn't be with you today. I give that chart a big fat kiss every night I go to bed with that chart. But what that chart also shows is look at the arrow on the bottom. That was the day I left office. We had the lowest level of illegal immigrants coming into our country, also drugs and lots of other things. You take a look at human trafficking of women. Mostly it's women. It's not, they talk about men. It's not men, it's women and children, but mostly women. We had the largest number of 10 times more than came in through me. We had it stopped. We would check in every car, every trunk in every car where they put a lot of them.
He acknowledges the drugs again. And in multiple other ones, he acknowledges the terrorism and the cartels.
It's the war on drugs. Maybe that's the cover. Maybe that is the cover for a lot of this stuff, because there's a lot of orders and stuff that Trump did in the names of fighting drugs. And think of where the drugs come from. Like, they come across the border, so there's a border hit. They come from the cartels and transnational criminal organizations. That's another hit. I mean, maybe. I don't know. You won't 100% convince me. It's hard to 100% convince me of pretty much anything, but
right. Me either. But there's a lot of signs. Go ahead, Paul. Did you want to keep going with your drop? Sorry to do the weave on you, but
oh no, you're fine, man. I was just gonna say I think we can get John to 100% agree that Burning Bright is kind of gay.
Oh, that's well beyond 100%, bro.
Yeah,
I still don't know what bicameral means.
It's
means
basically
that Burning Bright is,
bisexual, but for Burning
for
Bright.
thinkers. Yeah, it's Burning Bright's way of saying he's.
I would love
he's
to
bi.
talk to him one day. I'm just playing, but
And with that, BB is going to make sure I don't have another article scheduled on the Badlands Substack for quite some time.
Yeah.
No,
do we have the queue with the 4 carriers anyway?
Yeah,
we do. Let me go ahead and pull that up, man. Well, I did, and then I went to another one. So give me 1 second. I had one job to do, and I just fucking failed miserably.
You know what's my favorite part while you're pulling it up? To watch the way different people's brains work. Joe, you're one of the most intriguing people I've ever met. John, all three of you, and all the guests I have on the show. It's really cool. We could not do this without each and every one of us. It's awesome.
So November 2nd, Delta 2.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you give it a read for us?
For sure, man. Drop 38, November 2nd, 2017. 4 carriers and escorts in the Pacific. Why is that relevant? To prevent other state actors from attempting to harm us during this transition. Russia, China, right? Russia, China, or conversely, all for North Korea, or all three. Think logically about the timing of everything happening. Note increased military movement. Note National Guard deployment starting tomorrow. Note false flags. Follow Huma. Prepare messages of reassurance based on what was dropped here to spread on different platforms. The calm before the storm.
Note increased military movement. Are they talking about like China there?
I don't know specifically what he's aiming towards, but I was just thinking in the back of my head as I was reading it, I feel like there's been a lot of increased military movement lately, not just China, but of course the military or the Middle East, the whole thing.
And and there's going to be more and more as that date keeps coming together. So, overlap that with Trump saying, get out and vote early, overlap that with everything else we talked about earlier in the show. That's just like another, like I'm saying though, that window, that transition period is the key.
I want to swing back real quick. Just take a quick side quest back to DPH being retruthed by Trump. John sent me the graphic over there on Telegram, and I had forgotten that when he did this, Trump didn't just hit devolution with this; he hit Q as well, because that meme is in drop number 2153. So he by doing that retweet, not only is he giving a hat tip to Patel Patriot and the boys over at DPH, but it's a Q hat tip too. So that almost builds in that the two are in some way, shape, or form connected. I was saying to Rambo before we came on air and before you got here, John, that with my knowledge of the Q drops at this point, and I don't know devolution as well as I wish I did, man, but I know it well enough to be able to bang it off Q drops, and it seems to me as if the Q drops were kind of what was the framework for devolution to happen. It was giving the outline, the reasons that such a drastic measure was going to have to be taken with our government. And that's kind of where I land on. That's why I think, from day one, before I even really got to meet you, when I first started reading Devolution, I was like, these two are connected.
Yeah. The way I look at it, because it's crazy to me that people like from the Q movement, like people that I was associated with before and groups with before, they're like so anti-devolution, and I'll never understand it, especially when the reason for it, the way they present it, they're not even like saying things that I ever talk about. Like they're describing devolution in a way that maybe other people have done it, like Derek Johnson. People have kind of poisoned my interpretation of devolution, but my interpretation, like, and when I compare it to the Q drops that I've seen, like Q is this big overarching plan to like take back the country and everything, right? And there's an aspect of that plan that needs like, you almost need to protect what we're going through right now while we fight this narrative warfare. And that's where devolution fits in. Like devolution is just part of the bigger aspect of everything. And it's a real thing that you can point to. And the drops that I see where they talk about the military, and I mean, it's pretty hard for me to not see devolution when it's talking about some of those things. I don't know which drops they are, but there's like some really, really compelling ones that are like, well, holy shit, they're basically talking about devolution right here. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's, we take a lot of the same stuff with the Q stuff, and a lot of the stuff that gets thrown against Joe and myself is not based in fact at all. I saw plenty of people attack devolution and say, well, devolution tells you that everything's fine and you don't need to do anything and just sit at home. And I'm sitting over here, I've never seen John posit that once. I've never seen John not to vote. I've never seen John say not to get locally involved, not to do what you can to save your country. And the very same thing with Stormy and myself, and the very same thing with Rambo. I've not seen anybody on the Q side or devolution side that's legit sit there and say sit home and do nothing. It's been exactly the opposite from all of us, man.
It's such a stupid argument. And that's why it's still so funny to me. Like right after the midterms happened, that's like there was this little op that was launched against Badlands and devolution, like because we started in October, right, of 2022, and then the day the midterms were over, we got accused of why we lost. Like we were the reason, devolution and Badlands, and we were the reason that Trump, or we didn't win enough seats in the midterms or whatever. And it makes no sense. Like nobody was saying not to vote or participate, like you said, but they misrepresent it, and then they attack us over that misrepresentation. And it's just the most disingenuous thing I've ever seen. Like just the other day, I saw somebody posting like a selfie of, I think it was Netanyahu with Israel, and they're like, oh well, this is a pretty bad look for devolution. And I'm just like honestly trying to ask, like, why, how does this debunk or take away from devolution at all? And they don't give any explanation or reasoning or anything. But they're clearly showing they don't actually know what devolution is, or they do know and they're misrepresenting it on purpose just to attack it. And I'll never understand why.
I'm going to have your back on this, John. I've seen people that I care about and I consider friends say things like, trust the plan in reference to devolution. And that's confusing to me because I didn't ever see that in devolution, but I did see that in the drops. And I know those people are heavily Q-based. And I think I'm not really sure why that's happening. It kind of stinks because my mission out here is to unite, period. Right. And I bring that up because I want to ask you, you and I have never talked about this before. I've never brought up another personality within the movement, but I want to ask it. Do you know who Feisty is?
This sounds familiar. Is she friends with, is it SSGQ?
Yes, they come on. They're regulars on my show. And
Yeah.
I think that there's like minor details that you guys would have, given it was done on a respectful level. Look, she's outside my scope, just like you are. You're both above my level. But I've seen intriguing things by her, and I've seen completely intriguing things by you. I would love to link you two up on like a back channel level, because I think that you guys are on the same path, and I think that her research would help you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
She's completely underrated.
Her PD-51 research is through the roof.
She's completely underrated,
I can
bro.
absolutely say that.
PD-51. Yeah.
Yeah, her
like
research into that is insane.
That's like the basis for a lot of the modern day continuity government stuff. NSPD-51 was kind of
She's got a telegram I was just looking for. I can't remember what it's called, Cagnon or something, but I can find it. I'll send it to you after the show. Because look, as far as this show is concerned, I look at myself as kind of like the guy that if I had a goal, it would be to bring all the camps back together. There's been some like some of the stuff we were just talking about a second ago. I think that's fake and gay. I don't like it. I think that as long as we have the same goals in saving the country, protecting children, making sure that we have the same republic that was given to us when the Constitution was written, as long as we have all those same goals, then the rest of this is a conversation amongst friends, as long as it's done with love and respect. And I know that she has that, and I know that you do too. So I would love to link you guys up because she's next level and she's underrated as hell.
Yeah. In terms of bringing the bands back together or whatever, right? Like there was a little rift that formed with when Badlands started. And it's since that happened, like we've very much so stayed in our lane. Like we just kind of focus on our shit, and we keep getting shit from everybody else for what I think is bullshit reasons. Like I'll never understand it, but we're open to talk to anybody and have a conversation, of course. But
I think you are. You've been nothing but you and I got to say this. All three guys on the show right now are Badlanders. The guest I had on yesterday was Ghost of Baseback Patrick Henry. I just had Patrick Gunnels. Like I could run the list. I've talked to probably 50% of the people that are on your show, and there hasn't been one negative experience that I've had. That's the truth. I can't wait to go to Gart. I absolutely can't wait to go to Gart because I met Abs. Yeah, I met Abs and his wife at Reawaken, and I am super close now with David Becker. The dude's awesome.
He's great too. Yeah.
I was just texting him this morning. I cannot wait to meet Joe. He was texting me the whole time I was at Reawaken. I can't wait to meet you and ask ask Burning Bright what the hell bicameral means. Like I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
How many people were at Reawaken, like total in the crowd?
2,000 to 3,000.
Wow, man, that's huge.
Yeah, it was
probably around 2,000.
It was a fun event for sure. It was really cool. I made the joke on Monday. It was super cool to be standing there talking with Rambo and Dave and Enoch and Mark, and I was saying to myself, damn, if Stormy was here, we would pretty much have all of my favorite Q folks in one place, man. That's so awesome.
Know who texted me this morning? Literally texted me to ask if I got home safe. Freaking Trey Smith.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. Oh man, that might have been arguably my favorite point of the weekend was meeting him. I've followed him and watched his videos, his God in a Nutshell series, since well before Trump and Q. We're talking back 2013, 2014 is when I got into his stuff. And I got to meet him on Saturday, and he didn't even just take the time to meet me. He took the time to meet me. And then there was like a 20-minute conversation on Jesus and faith and what we both believe after that. And he was in no rush to end the conversation, was in no rush to go anywhere else. Just one of the most pleasant experiences I've ever had of meeting somebody you kind of look up to. Because, we've all probably been through it. You meet somebody you look up to and you get done with it and you're like, that guy was kind of a dick. that ruined everything I looked up to about that dude. Complete opposite with Trey Smith, man. I loved the conversation with him. That was such an awesome weekend. For me, it was kind of like an appetizer for Gart, man. You'll see when you get down there, Rambo, but it's super community, family oriented. Everybody feels like family, man. You're going to have such a good time.
Yeah. It's a little smaller than the 2,000-3,000 people, but I think that's a feature, not a bug. It's a really interactive and engaging community feeling with these Garts. And we just booked our Vegas venue, by the way, too. So March, that'll be our next one. Got all of 2025 filled up for Garts too. So if you haven't made one.
I know Joe went to Garts too. Is it been your guys' experience? You know what I appreciate? I was just booking hotels and planes for Gart, and I saw that you guys don't start till 10 p.m. I appreciate that because
10 a.m. You mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. 10 a.m. You don't start till 10 a.m. because you know what my favorite part of Reawaken was? It was the alley bar. It was some. I was going to say a bad word, but it wasn't. It was the most amazing place that like Seth Keschel was dancing on the bar, and like me and Mike Flynn hugged it out even after we had a disagreement. Like Kaidi's running around like bouncing off the walls, and Kim was is singing karaoke. Like it was the most amazing experience. And I think outside of the speaker events and the dinners and the things that you want to do formally to be part of the event, it's the social part that was the mind-blowing experience. It was the conversations and the people and the fun times and the laughs. I don't want everybody to know, but I danced, right? Like it was really fun. We had so much fun.
Yeah. We make it a point to try to, and when we first started, we used to start at 9 and go like 5 panels, end at like 5. Those are our first couple conferences, and we're starting to shift more because we noticed that too. It's all about the community aspect and engaging with people, and so we want to make it more, geared towards that. So yeah, we start later, we end a little earlier. The panels are still awesome, but you're right. We're trying to add a dance to one of the socials, like get a DJ for it. We'll see if we can get one in time. If not, we'll have it at future ones too. But yeah, like when we were in Deadwood, we went to that. There's a dive bar. Do you remember what it was called, Stormy Joe? I can't remember what that bar was called. Like the Bodega, maybe, or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Karaoke bar. Everybody's just hanging out there. It's a
yeah,
blast.
and that and all the events that we did before, during, and after. The different venues that we picked. There's golfing, there's horseback riding, there's ATVs, there's shooting. We went to Mount Rushmore, all these different things. So we pick key places that you can get to and really have fun together. And we took like every time we went on one of these things, there was 20, 30, 40 Badlands people with us, some wearing shirts and everything. So it was so cool. So yeah, it's more than just the conferences. It's an experience.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun. It just needs to
said
go
how
ahead and get here.
I said I wasn't a golfer, and somebody, I can't remember, was it you, Have somebody said to me, they're like, most of us just go so we can heckle the guys that are golfing. I can't wait.
Basically, I don't know if there's going to be golf this time around. I'm trying to put together a range day for everybody that enjoys their Second Amendment. So we'll see how that unrolls.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see. We're going to try to do some golf stuff. I don't know yet. For me, it's just when I get there. I have my kids the days before, and I can't fly out until Wednesday. So maybe Thursday. We'll see.
Yeah, you could stand at the resort and throw a stone in just about any direction, save the ocean, and hit a golf course. So you wouldn't have a problem finding a golf course down there, dude.
Yeah, I know that. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it.
Yeah, I will absolutely go along and heckle. Golf is one of the few sports I actually can't play in any way, shape, or form. To be fair, it's been like 20 years since I've tried, though.
Yeah, it did get better.
Joe, you had some of the most amazing pictures I ever saw with you in front of Mount Rushmore and everything else. The last one, those were awesome.
Yeah, that was my first time there. It was actually a first time to that state, and everything was really cool, man. It's like different experience, not only with the mountain ranges, but just everything was more like spread out, and seeing bison come up to your car, it's pretty fun stuff. Yeah. Base, by the way, every storefront had Trump stuff up everywhere.
Yeah. Deadwood is an awesome place. We're going back there next year too, but we also do our best to try to make it as engaging for the virtual audience too, like not just with the panels, but with behind the scenes content and kind of streaming some of those activities that we're doing, not just at the conference and the panels. So if you can't make it, get your virtual ticket, guys. Badlandsmedia.tv/events.
I was so butthurt about missing Deadwood. I've legitimately already booked our hotel for next Deadwood because I'm not missing it next year, man.
John, I was just telling you how I like to bring groups together. It's kind of like my thing. And one of my buddies, so you guys at Badlands, specifically Joe and Abs, but all you guys at Badlands have supported what I'm doing over here. I've mentioned his name already on the show, but Dave over at News Treason has done an amazing job of supporting me as well, and I've tried to support him. I hope he knows just as much. He got to meet me and Abs, and we got to meet him and his partner at the Reawaken, and he's coming to guard, so I can't wait to introduce him.
Is he awesome?
Yeah. So I can't wait to introduce him. He's got a really active, amazing family going on over there on his channel. I can't wait to introduce him as well. I know he's in the chat, so I wanted to give him a hat tip. But
yeah, I've seen some of his Twitter stuff, so I'm looking forward to meeting him as well.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, I'll tell you what. This is what I'm gonna do. I do have a handful of rants.
Just a funny thing, Joe, if you want to bring it up. It's just kind of funny when we were talking about Kamala and possibly part of the show. At the same time, Fox had this graphic. I threw it in your DM chat. It's just
my Twitter.
Yeah, it's more of a sync. Obviously, this wasn't them answering to us or anything like that. They already had it tuned up for the show, but I just like these funny little syncs from time to time. Here we go. Abs, look at the screen, brother. Yeah. Okay.
What?
Yeah, the 17. So Fox put a Kamala and a 17 on the board at the moment we were talking about whether or not Kamala was part of the show. That's all. Just funny. Just funny.
That's really funny. Let me go through some of the rants and stuff, and then I'll find out where, we can talk about where everybody can find you guys. Let's see here. So first, over on pill.net, thank all you guys for your support. Filter Dog 1, Gifted Shades. Should be an epic show. I believe it was. Share it out with all your friends. I am absolutely sitting here with 3 people that I look up to tremendously. Sergeant Sparky with a cookie, Sean Joe with a cookie, and Sean Joe with a cookie again. And then, I don't know if you guys realize this, but Rumble seemed to do something really cool here recently. I don't need a plugin. They collect all of the, you don't need the plugin anymore. So they just collect at the top. Everything else disappears except for the Rumble rant.
Oh, yeah.
So Brass Cubes, hat tip. Love that dude. Great seeing Joe, Abs, and John today. Going to be a great show. See y'all at GART 6 in Myrtle Beach next month. Where we go one, we go all. Boom. See you there. Here's News Treason. This is the dude Dave I was just talking about. 4 of the best in the business on the same screen. Epic podcast, boys. Fire. My man. JF Anon, also a regular on this show. Him and Smart Paul come on all the time. Notable that Biden-Harris rift was seeded for a reason. I see a scenario where Biden calls out the cheating and as POTUS orders the military election in parentheses, 1 day, paper ballots, voter ID, no U.S. Constitution conflict.
Yeah, that's low key one of my wet dream scenarios is that Biden's the one that rips the veil down and is like, hey, look at this shit. Where I sit right now, I think it's unlikely, but I don't dismiss it, man. I would love to see that. That would be a great ending to this movie.
Would be interesting for sure.
Especially if he's the one that sends that damn tweet, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. Like, that would just be crazy, man.
Oh, I can't imagine how annoying just even a burning bright would be if that happens. Just because they always argue that like Biden and Hunter have flipped and like full control stuff. And I'm always like, well, I haven't seen evidence of that yet. So let's wait, maybe. And
they're right.
I'd never hear the end of it. They might be right. Who knows?
You got something in your throat up there, Rambo?
Excuse me. Yeah, I agree with them. All right, JF on again said Biden could justify a U.S. military-run election because there wouldn't be time to get all precincts ready to rerun it. The result: huge Donald J. Trump landslide.
That would be so friggin' epic, man. God, that would be epic.
Beachside, $5 Rumble rant. What do y'all think about George Santos chirping about Kamala at Diddy parties?
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I haven't seen that.
He just tweeted one about an hour ago. Hold on, I'll read it verbatim. My friend sent it to me. He said, in the past, I always wanted to go to a Diddy party or Jay-Z party. Now I just want to ask VP Harris what they were like since she's speculated to have been in attendance.
Oh my God.
If George Santos comes out as being right on this one, I'm not going to know what to think.
Yeah, well, I mean, he teased that video yesterday. Then he has this post where it says, update, due to the vitality of this video, the very large publication is now stressed over the fact I got ahead of them due to my inside source. If they don't drop this story, I'm going to lawyer up and scoop them and expose their cover-up. I have no need or reason to come here and say something so insane during a presidential election. So don't count me out yet. I've worked way too hard to regain the trust of the people after my shortcomings as a man. To the publication, I will not let this go, guys. Get your newsroom to straighten itself out and get the story published as planned. And then like an hour later, he drops that Diddy post thing. I don't know we'll see.
I don't know what to think, but yeah, I'm going to file that off in the let's see what happens file for right now.
Joe, what do you think about Santos? I see over there being quiet.
I saw his videos yesterday, and I was posting he's not going to drop shit. That
I love you.
How to go, you know.
That's why I love you. All right.
Just sitting over here waiting on the Santos drop. Just waiting.
That might be all of them. Hold on, I'm scrolling now. They only collect when they get to the top. I know I saw. Oh, here we go. So JF9 another 17 has by Cameral, by Curious, Potato. $15 Rumble rant. Let's see. We got anybody else here? I don't know. It's been here we go. Emerald Dragon 1333 with a $2 Rumble rant. Loving the Q-Volution mashup episode. LOL.
Wow. New word.
Q-Volution.
I like that.
I'm gonna go ahead and buy that little website.
Yeah, see if you can get that.
Yeah.
All my guys here can't wait for Gart, tattoo teacher, of course.
Of course.
Salt Muncher ODA, $2. Great show. Thanks, Rambo. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you very, very much. And I think that wraps it up for today. Well, do you guys all want to highlight what it is you might have coming up, each and every one of you, where they can find you on your different channels, different social medias, whatever it might be?
Yeah. Next, don't all answer at once. No, next you can find Joe and myself, Eye the Storm, tomorrow night at 9:00 on Badlands Media. And then of course Sunday night at 7:30 as well as on Badlands Media with Eye the Storm. And I got I Dig Music tomorrow afternoon. I think I'm still waiting to hear back. I think both the guys are traveling for that show or traveling right now. And then Culture Change Sunday at 5:30 as well with Ash in America. So as usual, just staying busy over this way, man.
Joe?
Yeah, so just to expand on what Paul was saying is we're on 3 times a week. Tuesdays are our long format because we're the last show on Badlands, so there's nothing up against us to drop and hand off the mic to. So we've been doing our interviews on Tuesdays the last few weeks. We've had Enoch on, General Flynn, Seth, and this Tuesday we have Sheriff Mack on. So we're looking forward to that. We've opened up on Fridays is a similar format. We kind of do a little mixture of decode of the week versus meme of the week and different things going on. But Friday is also a 90-minute format. Sunday's a 90-minute format, and we've been focusing in on putting on the armor. It's like a faith-based segment on that. That's been real popular. So, and that's also we do the Q proofs on Sunday as well. So Sunday's been a tremendous out of the gate show. It's been like top 5 on the Rumble leaderboard since we've been doing it. And then myself personally at StormyPatriotJoe on my Substack is where you can find in between shows and recaps and stuff in my personal life, and been really liking that format. Been able to mix pictures, articles, videos, links. It's a pretty cool format. You can DM and talk to me there too. So been liking that platform a lot.
Man,
awesome. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter, True Social. I don't post as much. Telegram at Patel_Patriot. Show tomorrow, Liberty Den, Saturday, DPH. But the show I'm really looking forward to is our Election Day coverage coming up. Tell your friends and family to tune into Badlands. We're gonna have a great lineup of guests. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna go pretty much all night. I think our perspective on how this election is going to play out is going to be different from the Normieville perspective. And I think that's a good thing to prepare you for what may come. We may not get the initial result that we want, and I think that's okay. But I think in the end, we're going to be right, and Trump will be back in there. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And then obviously GART coming up, badlandsmedia.tv/events. You'll soon we'll be able to see our schedule for all of next year. But you can also get your virtual ticket, and that should be fun too. They may still be counting the votes while we're in Myrtle Beach, and it's gonna be interesting stuff.
All right. I hope I don't put you guys on the spot to the point where I'm uncomfortable. I gotta ask one question. That's because of what John just said. Look, I don't want to hear, I'm not sure. None of us know. I want to know what's the one theory around the horn. What is the one you're leaning the most towards? How does this end? How does this election go? Do we have it and he wins? Do we have it and she steals it? and then the military steps in? Does it not happen and it gets prolonged? What's your favorite? You don't even have to. This isn't date fagging. I'm just asking what your opinions are. Where are you leaning? Let's go right around the horn. Paul, can you go first, buddy?
I think she's going to steal it. All hell breaks loose after the fact, and we get all kind of exposure and accountability for the election fraud.
Boom. All right, John, go ahead.
Yeah, if we have an election, because I wouldn't put it past them to find a reason to postpone the damn thing. If we have it, I think that they're gonna steal it. I've been saying this since the midterms, pretty much. I think they're gonna steal it, but they're not gonna be able to get away with it. How it gets resolved, I don't know, but I don't think they can get away with it this time.
Oh man. All right, Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, the same. It's an exposure op, so we haven't really destroyed the whole machines and all those types of things, and that's what I've been writing a lot about. Is this time we explode the whole machine narrative, and that's where I think it's going.
I stinking love that. So that's been my major point. Is Donald Trump talks about one-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID, and none of that is in place yet. So if that's not in place yet, it's my opinion that something has to happen to get us there, not just him win. So I completely agree, actually, across the board. I think all theories are possible. Paul, are we going to play your video just to tease it on the outro today?
Yeah, we can certainly play the video. I'm going to post it later. I was going to debut it on Eye of the Storm, but as Joe pointed out, tomorrow and Sunday's episodes are only an hour and a half, and trying to sandwich a 5-minute video in there can get a bit tough. I don't have the patience to wait until Tuesday night to debut this thing, and I don't think it would be proper to debut this particular song on a faith-based show that we do on Sundays. So I figured let's debut it here on Rambo's show, and I'll post it up later this evening after we get done here.
All right, so I absolutely love that as a tease. I'm going to give you guys the option whether you want to stay or not. I'm going to thank the last 3 sponsors of the show, and we're going to tease and play Paul's new video on the outro. If you guys want to stay and hang out, you're welcome to.
I'm gonna bounce, man. I got a couple things I got to take care of now. So,
all right,
thanks for having me, though.
Yeah, absolute honor, bro. Thank you very, very much. I hope we get together a lot in the future. So
yeah, let's do it again soon, and we'll see you on election day for sure.
All right,
it was fun, John.
See you, boys.
Thanks, buddy.
See you, man.
That dude's awesome. That dude's awesome. Yeah, are you gonna stay or are you bouncing out of here, Joe?
No, I'm gonna stay.
All right, my man. All right, so it's only a few here. We already did Patrick Gunnell, so I just want to say thank you to Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell supports this show and so many others. Mike's got great products, and he has kept the conversation as far as election integrity is concerned on the forefront of everybody's tongue for the last 4 years of the mess that we just went through. Please go over to mypillow.com and support Mike Lindell. And if you do and you want to support this show, please use promo code Rambo. Boom. And then kofeficoffee.com. Love this website. So many of your favorite Anons and Patriots alike on this project. Pepe Deluxe and 8-Track. 8-Track being the one that held up the Badlands logo. Thanks to, was that you, StormyPatriotJoe, that he also held yours up, didn't he?
Yeah. John asked for the Badlands, and I asked for mine.
I know. I was so mad when I woke up. I'm like, damn it, I could have freaking texted 8-Track. Yeah, but all your favorite, there's Pepe Deluxe himself. And if you want to support this show, Rambo Roast down there at the bottom, that would be the one that supports this show directly. But I highly suggest you go out there and support anybody on this project. All these guys are awesome. And last, and always last, but certainly always not least, my friend, everybody's friend within this movement. Let me pull up the video. Here we go. So David Becker, if you guys are looking, look, this is the personal part. This is not the read. If you're looking for health insurance and you already pay for it on your own, this dude is a patriot. Call him. He may be able to help you with how much you're paying. And what he does is PPO only. It is the best coverage you can get. So that is my personal advertisement on the thing. But here is the actual commercial. I love this dude. Please give him a call. Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Fall is the time of year when insurance companies send out their annual renewal rate increases. For many, high cost of medical insurance is about to get even worse. David Becker and his son Jesse of Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance are here to help you get the best possible PPO insurance coverage at affordable rates. If you think the cost of groceries has exploded, you should see what the hospitals are charging these days. Without the proper PPO protection, you could be liable for tens of thousands of dollars in the event of surgery or hospital stay. Since 1990, Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance has helped individuals and small businesses get access to nationwide PPOs, which cover both in-network and out-of-network charges in every state. Having the great nationwide network like Cigna will help keep your costs down to a minimum. If you're stuck paying your own medical insurance, call David for a free quote at 609-577-8557 or visit www.midatlanticba.com/Rambo. Boom. All right. That dude's awesome. You guys know him, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes, David Becker is great, man. He's one of my favorite folks in the movement.
Yeah, he absolutely rules. If you guys want to get a very short, I think it was like 7 minutes introduction to who he is before you actually call him, if you just scroll down just a little bit on my page, you will see a video that's only 7 or 8 minutes long. That was a short form interview, long form commercial that I did with David so that he could personally tell you himself what it is that he does. Highly suggest everybody goes and checks that out.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to play your video, Abs? Give it a little, let everybody know what you did type of deal or whatever?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll say goodbye to your YouTube friends for that video. They'll have to come watch on Rumble or Twitter because I'm not getting you another strike on your YouTube, man.
Yeah, that's a good call. Let me say that. Thank you for reminding me. So the conversation I had with Patrick Gunnels the other day, we got hit with medical disinformation. So I don't want to get hit with a what's it called when you play music that's got copyright hit. I don't want to get a copyright
hit, right?
So I'm going to get rid of all you guys over on YouTube. Now, that being said, that doesn't exclude you from seeing the show. There's other platforms. Do yourself a favor, do all of us a favor. Come over to pilled.net, come over to rumble.com, or go over to Twitter. All three places, this video that Abs put together is still going to play. And for the last week, we did 3 shows that weren't up on YouTube because of that strike. Unfortunately, that happens. So I highly suggest anybody watching over there. I love y'all. I see all the comments. I've actually been watching YouTube the whole time. I'm going to keep it up there because we never leave the battlefield. But I do highly suggest you come over to one of these other platforms where we're not at risk of losing the show. All right.
Yeah. It's kind of, well, it's not really funny. It's annoying, but Badlands had a YouTube and they were putting a lot of clips and shorts up over there, right? So the moment they began bumping Eye of the Storm clips over there is when the Badlands YouTube got yanked down. So it's annoying, but of course it was the Q guys that ultimately did it. But no, that wouldn't be the issue here. Like you said, it's the song. I don't want to get you popped for the song, man. And yeah, I'll talk about it for a second to give folks a chance to get over to Rumble or Twitter or whatever. Pilled. Yeah, it's 2 5-finger death punch. Welcome to the circus. It's a bit heavier than some of the other videos I do, but it's one I wanted to do a video for a while, and earlier yesterday it just kind of all came together in my head, so I started putting it together. And the point of the song is this kind of clown world we're living in, all these clowns doing all their bullshit that's finally being torn apart and brought down. And so in the chorus, he's talking about, am I the only one that sees through all of this? Am I the only one that's not wearing a disguise? So I tried to highlight, our folks in that part that are seeing through the lies and trying to pull it down. And then I tried to basically highlight everything all these folks have done for the past few years here and how sick and depraved they are. And hope I did it justice, man. It's one of those videos, I always say with my videos, you're going to need to go watch them a couple times. You might even have to pause certain parts to see everything I put in there. This is certainly one of those. There were a lot of hidden tidbits in this video and graphics and stuff that you're going to have to go back and take a look at. But I do that stuff in my videos for a reason, so people can use them as red pills and go back and watch. So excited to show this one to everybody, man. I think it's one of my personal favorites that I've done.
Man, one thing before you play it, I gotta first of all get rid of YouTube. Hey, over there on YouTube, come join us on Rumble, rumble.com. The show is called the same exact thing, Rambo and Frens, Frens. No I, no D. That's an anon reference. That is a Q reference. So come join us over at Rambo and Frens on Rumble or pill.net. And whatever platform you're on, as I end this stream on Rumble, hit the pause. You guys already put us on the leaderboard. I see the numbers. Thank you very, very much. But as you go out of here, if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed the conversation, and you're going to enjoy this video, please hit the positive affirmation button on whatever platform that is.